Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is a beautiful, cold January 28th, 2026. So glad you could join us here on a morning. Once again, we have a lot of big stuff to cover from last night around the NFL. Bill Belichick, arguably the greatest head coach in the history of the National Football League. Most people would say first ballot Hall of Famer. Most people would be incorrect. The people that actually make these decisions have voted him not into the Hall of Fame as of last night. We'll talk about that and what a travesty it is, what punishments should come out of it, and what we've learned about the voters that we should have already known. We also will talk all about what we need to know about the head coaching carousel. Not just the head coaching carousel, but the coaching carousel as a whole. Just 3 open jobs now after the Bills hired Joe Brady. We will talk about that move. We'll talk about Brian Daboll officially becoming the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. We will talk about everything in the coaching carousel, where the other 3 teams might land, as those are definitely the least desirable jobs outside of the Vegas Raiders, who seemingly have their eyes set on a certain someone playing in the Super Bowl. We'll talk about all of that in a second. To help me break it all down, my friend and co-host, Mayrob Fatemi, is here. How are you doing this fine morning?
Doing pretty well, Jeremy. Let's get it done. We got a nice bright morning. Ready for another bright morning. Let's get it going.
Let's get it going here. Let's start off with some controversy here. This is insane to me. I saw this news last night and I said, you've got to be joking. I must have read this wrong. Bill Belichick got voted into the Hall of Fame. And then I looked at it again. And then you said something in the group chat. And then I looked at it again. He is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. On what planet? On what planet is this man, Bill Belichick, not arguably the greatest coach of all time, at worst, a top 3 coach of all time, at worst, top 3? How is he not a first ballot Hall of Famer for you? And how are, as a writer, as a person that is supposed to be a football expert, a guy that knows everything there is to know about the game, how are you, one of 50 elite football people in the world, not being responsible enough, holding a grudge enough to not let one of football's greatest minds into the Hall of Fame on his first attempt? A guy that won 8 Super Bowls, 2 as a defensive coordinator, 6 as a head coach. That's double the next guy. Double. A guy that I won't say he turned Tom Brady into something, but a guy that ran one of the greatest dynasties in sports, in all of sports, for 20 years. In the sport that's the hardest to make a dynasty in. He did all of this and more. He's been to a Super Bowl with 3. He's taken a team to a Super Bowl with 2 different quarterbacks. He's won Super Bowls in 2 different eras of quarterbacking. There is no reason why he should not be in the Hall of Fame right now. He's second most wins in the history of the playoffs, in the history of the NFL. First in the history of the playoffs. Bill Belichick is the greatest head coach of all time, and at least 40 of the 50 writers, which is the threshold, did not vote for him to get into the Hall of Fame. That means at least 11 people should not have a vote next year for the Hall of Fame. There needs to be consequences for this. We talk about this with baseball all the time, with other sports all the time. The writers, they hold grudges. The writers, they think they know better. The writers, they think that they are this moral compass for the sport. If the sport cared about moral compass, if the sport cared about what Bill Belichick did with Spygate and Deflategate and whatever other gate you want to throw out there, he wouldn't have been coaching in the league for as long as he was coaching. If the league cared about morals, these guys wouldn't be in the league for as long as they've been in the league for. If the league cared about this kind of thing, if the league wanted you to punish them, their legacy, by not letting them into the Hall of Fame, they wouldn't have let them play or coach long enough to be in the Hall of Fame. It's not your job to dole out justice for things that should have or maybe could have or didn't or whatever you think happened 10, 15, 20 years ago. Your job is to look objectively at what he did for the sport of football. Your job is to look at what he did every single year as one of the greatest coaches of all time and make an objective decision. These guys need to lose their vote. There's plenty of people. There's more than 50 people that can vote on the Hall of Fame, and they need to find a way to fix this immediately. Mayrob, your thoughts?
You're completely right. I'm happy I gave you the floor to start off the show and gave it to you because that was the most eloquent statement I've heard all day about what that was. Seriously, about what happened yesterday. I mean, you can't not have him be like Bill Belichick, the best head coach of all time, the eight-time Super Bowl champion Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Why? So basically, what happened was one of the voters came out and denied, uh, pretty much telling some of the fellow voters that Bill Belichick should serve a 1-year penance for the Spygate issue and the Deflategate issue because of his cheating scandals. First of all, the Deflategate thing, I think we can both agree was false. It was just something that was thrown upon him that was they tried to ruin his career to try and um, uh, dirty his name, to bring up dirt on him. And then the Spygate issue, yeah, I think Spygate was something. We've seen him do it multiple times. We've seen him have issues with Spygate, stealing signs from other teams, taking tape from other teams' practices. But I mean, you can't use that against him. You cannot use that in today's day and age against him. With the amount of things that have happened back in the day, so many coaches also use the same tactics that Bill Belichick used, and they are in the Hall of Fame. They are in the Hall of Fame right now. So for Bill Polian to sit up there and pretty much he's denied it, but to just try and bring up dirt against Bill Belichick's name just to sway voters into not voting for him, to say, give him a year, he doesn't deserve to be there because of the Spygate issue, is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Because Bill Belichick is an 8-time champion. Because he arguably ran the best dynasty in all of sports in the Patriots for 15, 20 years. This Patriots team that Patriots team was unbelievable. They deserve all the credit in the world. And Bill Belichick should be a Hall of Famer right now. There should be no doubt about this. This shouldn't even be a conversation right now.
Yeah. And from the point of view of what reasons they possibly couldn't have. You have the spying reasons, you have the Tom Brady carried you reasons, which stupid. There's plenty of Hall of Famers, coaches that have been quote unquote carried throughout their career, right? There's plenty of guys that maybe wouldn't have been as successful as they are if they had played their entire career for, say, the Cleveland Browns, right? Like there are plenty of people like that out in the NFL, out in history. This is just what happens, right? You need to understand that coaching is the most important in the NFL. You cannot be successful in the NFL, and we see it all the time. I think Sam Darnold is a really good example of this. If you don't have coaching, you're going to look like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. You see that. Again, Sam Darnold, third overall pick, now leads a team to the Super Bowl, was considered a complete bust, a failure in the NFL after he left the Jets and the Panthers. Those are two bad coaching organizations that he has been through, right? That has not worked out well for him at all. Then he goes over to the 49ers, spends a year under Brock Purdy and with Kyle Shanahan, learns a lot, gets a lot better, goes over to Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, wins 14 games, then has more coaching, more help in Seattle this year, wins 14 games again, a feat that only Bill Belichick and Tom Brady have done 2 years in a row. And now you're seeing why he went third overall. Now you're seeing why Sam Darnold is the guy that people were saying he was. It's coaching. It's the system. You can't do everything on the football field on your own. Coaching is a huge part of that. And Bill Belichick is one of the greatest defensive coaches of all time. The way that he's able to structure his defenses, the way that he's able to find talent, the way that he's able to get the most out of his guys is incredibly impressive. The way that he's able to build his staff, the way that he found one of the greatest offensive coordinators of our generation in Josh McDaniel, not a great head coach, one of the greatest offensive coordinators of our generation right there. There are many reasons why you could say he is a Hall of Famer. I cannot, for the life of me, think of one that you could say he's not. And Bill Polian leads that effort. He said, guys, maybe we should make him wait a year as penance, as a punishment for all of the bad faith or the bad press he put on our sport. If people cared about that, they wouldn't be angry right now. People don't care about that. People see an objective first ballot Hall of Famer and they say, respect what he has done. He was punished for these things that they're punishing him for right now. Right? He served his sentence for Spygate. He served a little bit of a sentence for Deflategate, which, side note, even if Deflategate was a real thing, it wouldn't have mattered. They won by like 35 points, and the Colts also were using the same ball, so like, whatever.
Yep.
It's dumb. Lots of stupid stuff. But at the end of the day, this is the thing that is ruining the integrity of the league. It was what's taking away from the integrity of the sport. Not that Bill Belichick had cheated in the past. That is not what's ruining the integrity here, and that's their big reason. They're standing on a platform above us and saying we're upholding the integrity of football. No, you're not. You're not upholding the integrity of football. You did the same thing with Terrell Owens, right? You made him wait 3 years. He's one of the best receivers of all time, and you said, I just didn't really like that guy, so we're gonna make him wait a little while. No, don't do that. You don't need to do that. This is not your job. Your job is to say this guy's a Hall of Famer or not. Your job is not to decide, well, he's a Hall of Famer, but like, should we really? No. Let him in. Let him into the Hall of Fame. Redo the vote. And most importantly, kick those at least 11 guys off. The fact that more than 20% of the people that vote for the Hall of Fame said, actually, he's not worth the Hall of Fame, is insane. Look, I would understand him not being unanimous. I think that's punishment enough. I really do. I understand a writer wanting to be different, like a Derek Jeter situation where only one writer says, actually, he's not a Hall of Famer. Again, ridiculous. Derek Jeter should have been a unanimous Hall of Famer, but he got into the Hall of Fame, 49-50, right? It's the same situation. There needs to be consequences because there are more than 50 people that are capable of making the correct decisions for the Hall of Fame and know enough ball to vote for the Hall of Fame. Rob, you should get a Hall of Fame vote. I think you would have done better than at least 11 of those guys that did not vote for Bill Belichick in what really is just, it's a process that never gets talked about, ever. And it's national conversation now because of this travesty here. I really can't stand it. I could keep yelling about this all day long, but we kind of have to move on, Rob, unless you've got final thought here.
It's crazy stuff. It's just crazy stuff. Apparently he wasn't even on the ballot. Anybody that's using that excuse of Spygate against him is not understanding that in that time, everybody was using it. Howard Mudd, a Hall of Fame head coach, learned it from Tony Dungy, one of the best head coaches of all time. It just makes no sense to me either. Bill Belichick should be a Hall of Famer right now, and it's just a grudge that people are using against him because he was so good. I don't know what else to say it. I don't know what else to call it.
Hey, we will see. Hopefully he gets in next year, and maybe there's a memorandum, maybe there's something that lets us flip the page, turn this around, find a new place for Bill Belichick in the Hall of Fame. But the head coaching carousel continues to spin. Look, tickets are cheap, but they're hard to cash in. It's hard to get back out of there. You need to find your guy on this coaching carousel. And the Bills, they were the last ones on. They're not the last ones off. They are the fourth to last team off as they have brought officially in Joe Brady as their next head coach. Joe Brady is, or I should say was, the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. He and Josh Allen have a good relationship. I think the key here, Josh Allen was sitting in on every single coaching interview. That is massive because when Josh Allen is making these decisions, as it basically seems he was, that means Josh Allen was going to pick a guy he liked. So it really, in my mind, came down between Joe Brady and Brian Dable. And Brian Dable just flamed out as a head coach. He hadn't been in that building. We've seen now over the last couple years, whenever head coaching searches are asking about Joe Brady, we've seen Josh Allen go up on the podium and say stuff along the lines of, "Actually, you can't have him. He's actually really bad at coaching. So you're just gonna have to let him go so he can stay with us for one more year." Right? Clearly, high praise for a guy who he wants to keep around in that building. Now, Terry Pagula made a decision to fire Sean McDermott, and he goes out and he gets Joe Brady, hire from in-house. I like Joe Brady as a head coach. I don't know if Buffalo's the best spot for him. I think he was going to get a head coaching job anyway. So if you wanted to keep him, this feels like the move that you had to make. But this Joe Brady move to me is just, we got rid of Sean McDermott, but we liked what Sean McDermott was doing. So let's bring back Sean McDermott here. It just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. They need a new voice. They need to get over the hump, and keeping that culture around, keeping the guys that the locker room is familiar with around, keeping, again, that locker room culture, a winning culture is huge, especially for a team in Buffalo that had been so long without a winning culture.
No, 100%.
But there are lots of reasons why you might want to look outside, why you might want to look at a different candidate, why with a job uh as wanted as the Bills, there's no reason you couldn't get Clint Kubiak, right? Clint Kubiak is the guy that seemingly is at the top of every board. You could have gotten anyone you wanted instead. You stay in house, you get Joe Brady. And again, I think Joe Brady is a good head coach. I think he's going to be a good head coach, but I don't think this gets them over the hump.
I think the main thing that I'm seeing here with this hire from the Buffalo Bills is the fact that you're going to see more of the same issues offensively as you saw with Sean McDermott at the helm. Sean McDermott was not an offensive head coach. He was a defensive guy. We all know that. He was more of a defensive minded head coach and gave more of the offensive gave the keys to the offense over to Joe Brady more of the time. I'm not gonna lie, it's just gonna be more of the same issues. The wide receiver screens on 3rd and long, using James Cook in the out of the backfield, which is important. We love to see that. But unless the Bills can find themselves a way to get some quality wide receivers, I think Joe Brady's just kinda in a really tough position that I don't think it's gonna work in anybody's favor. I don't think it's gonna work in his favor. I don't think Pagula's gonna get anywhere because I don't think Buffalo's gonna win any championships with this hire. I think this is just I think honestly this could be a bridge hire that's in the making right now. And honestly, we're just gonna have to wait and see. If you're Joe Brady, I'm with you. I think he should have gone somewhere else, like maybe the Arizona Cardinals or the Cleveland Browns, start off fresh. But it is what it is, you know? It is what it is. Joe Brady just might be in for a really rough couple of years, unless, like I said, they can go ahead and get some quality offensive pieces.
Well, I mean, they'll be fine, right? They'll be fine. If they've got Josh Allen, they'll be fine. Josh Allen could be a player coach, and they would be fine. Like that's the kind of situation that you're walking into right now. I would probably give this hire like a C minus overall. It's fine. It just doesn't change anything to me, and it feels a little bit like a downgrade from where you were before. If you were gonna keep the same ideas, same minds in the building, just run it back with Sean McDermott. It's not his fault. Some of these losses, some of them were his fault, sure. This last one, not his fault. It was unlucky. It was a tough game. Josh Allen had 5 turnovers. including one that directly led to a field goal at the end of half. So instead of that game to go to overtime, you're looking at a much different outcome between the Bills and the Broncos. And the Broncos and the Bills, excuse me, have a chance to play for the Super Bowl against division rival the New England Patriots in the next week instead of sitting at home and firing their head coach. He said a lot of things. Pagula did when he was on that podium, firing Sean McDermott or talking about why he fired Sean McDermott. But bringing in Joe Brady just doesn't seem to match with everything that he says. I'm giving it a C minus as far as my coaching grades here go. We'll run through the rest of the coaching grades here in a second. But what's your coaching grade for Joe Brady right now?
I would give it a B plus right now because I do think they tried to get somebody else outside of the system, but eventually they went with the next guy up. So I gave it a B plus.
It's not bad. It like I said, it's fine. I think a B is solid. C or a B. But let's go around the league. And let's talk about some of the other head coaches that we haven't really given grades for. Mike McCarthy here. You heard my thoughts on Mike McCarthy. I'm not a fan of the hire. I think Mike McCarthy is fine. That's a C for me. See, I'm upgrading Joe Brady to a C plus B minus, and I'm putting McCarthy at a C.
I think you're right. I think I'm keeping McCarthy at a C minus range. I've never been a Mike McCarthy fan. The last time we saw Mike McCarthy be a decent head coach, it was when he was with Green Bay before probably I would say like 2018, 2019 was probably the last signs of a good Mike McCarthy because or you could even go before that when he won a Super Bowl with the team because ever since then he hasn't been great. His time in Dallas, he did not do a good job. We saw him in the playoffs, how lackadaisical they were. I mean, this issue with Mike McCarthy is it just feels like he's just a little bit outdated for the coaching game in a way, and he continues to find jobs. I hate this more as a Steel. I'm more annoyed at the Steelers that they made this move, and we talked about this earlier in the week. I'm more annoyed at the Steelers that they made this move. I'm not as annoyed as I am at Mike McCarthy because he has his job. That's always great. But why did the Steelers hire him? I'm not going to go back into that. But why did the Steelers hire him? I have it as a C minus. I know Mike McCarthy's going to be coaching it for his hometown of Pittsburgh, which is always great. But it does. I just don't think he's the right guy for the job. I keep it as a C minus personally too.
The Tennessee Titans, they hire former Jets head coach uh 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh to be their next head coach. I give this one excuse me, a C plus.
I give this a B as well. I think this is a good hire.
Yeah, no, he's going to be able to help fix that defense here. It's going to be interesting to see how it worked because he didn't really get a fair shake with the Jets, which I think is why he got his second opportunity so soon. But also, what we saw with the Jets could just be him, and that's a risk that they're really taking, which is why I'm a little bit more cautious on this one than a B. The New York Giants, they bring in John Harbaugh. I originally gave this an A. I'm trending down towards A minus. There's a couple bad vibes I'm getting from this. They're hiring a lot of the long-term people that have been there 45, 50 years. He's completely reshaping an organization that, I mean, prior to the last 10, 15 years, had been one of the proudest in football. And I'm a little worried with that power struggle between him and Joe Shane, how that's going to go this season. He should be fine, and he'll win that power struggle if it comes to it. But A minus. It's a little bit of a downgrade from when he was first hired.
Agreed. I think he's a B plus for me, just because of a couple of those things that you mentioned as well. And I'm worried about how he's going to fit into coaching that Giants style.
The Giants are switching to him. The Dolphins hired former Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. This is my least favorite hire of the cycle so far. I'm gonna give this one like a D plus. I really don't like this. He was not the best defensive mind on the market by when they hired him. He was just the opposite of Mike McDaniel, and I don't think Mike McDaniel was even the problem. I think it was a personnel issue rather than him. You saw McDaniel get a little bit of a win streak going from the Dolphins down the stretch. I'm just not a big fan of what they did at the head coach position.
Agreed. I don't think it's his fault. I think Mike McDaniel's going to get another offensive coordinator job here really, really soon before the next NFL year starts. I I agree with you. I'd give it a C minus for sure for him.
The Baltimore Ravens have brought in former Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter to be their next head coach. This is my favorite hire of the cycle. I'm giving this one an A+. It's hard to upgrade from John Harbaugh. You keep the same culture in. He's a Harbaugh guy. He's been with John and with Jim at multiple stops. And now he's going to be the head coach for the Ravens. He's going to bring in a defensive scheme, which is what the Ravens have kind of been missing. When you have Lamar Jackson, the offense will be fine. You just need that defense to step up. You have Kyle Hamilton, but he was the whole thing that's holding that defense together. I think Jesse Minter's going to help that defense be great.
Definitely an A+ for me as well. Jesse Minter is an unbelievable head coach. Defensive mind. I think he's going to do great things in Baltimore. Seriously, I do.
Last but not least, the Atlanta Falcons. They bring in former Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski to be their next head coach. Stefanski, two-time coach of the year in Cleveland. He now joins Atlanta. I'm giving this one an A- as well. Same with that John Harbaugh tier. I like this guy as a coach a lot. I'm a little bit concerned about the lack of a quarterback. He's got all the weapons. I just don't know if he's going to be able to make Michael Penix into a thing, which I hope because I like Michael Penix a lot. But we will have to see if he's able to turn Michael Penix into a real starting quarterback. Until then, it's Kirk Cousins.
Yes, it is. And I think he can do good things with Michael Penix in that offense because that offense has so much potential. But we just have to wait and see. I'm giving him an A- because I like Kevin Stefanski. I think he can do some good things. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. If he does the same thing as he did in the first 2 years he was with the Cleveland Browns, this is gonna be a great hire. If he does the same things he was doing the last year and a half that he was doing with the Cleveland Browns, I don't know how this is going to shape out. So I'm giving it an A minus.
All right. It's going to be a busy offseason. Offensive coordinators, Brian Dable to the Titans. Offensive coordinators, Mike McDaniel to the Chargers, the two most recent offensive coordinators to be hired. It is going to be very interesting to see what is going on with these teams as the offseason continues to move forward. The coaching carousel continues to spin. We will cover everything as the last three jobs come open. That means the Cardinals, that means the Raiders, and that means the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, I think, lean towards Jim Schwartz. I think the Arizona Cardinals, they kind of lean towards Matt LaFleur is what I'm hearing, although I don't necessarily love either of those hires. And then the Raiders, they seem like the team that's going to get Clint Kubiak. They seem to have been very locked in on that guy since the coaching cycle began. He, of course, is coaching in the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator. That is the way that I think they're going. Where do you think the last three openings go?
I'm with you about Clint Kubiak to the Raiders. That name just continues to pop up over and over again. I actually think Mike McDaniel's going to find a job, going to land a job over with the Cardinals. And then Jim Schwartz can go to the Browns. Somebody has to go to the Browns, so he can probably go to the Browns,
They're
honestly.
making them write essays over there. Nobody's going to the Browns. No coach wants to write essays. I don't understand. I don't understand what the Browns are doing. It's a big mess. But they will figure it out hopefully soon. They kind of need to. But thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Triple Threat Show. Short and sweet is the way that we like it here on a cold Wednesday. The NFL returns Super Bowl week next week. We'll be back into the swing of things then. We will see you tomorrow. We'll talk some NBA. The Clippers heating up. Are they a threat in the West? Are the Nuggets going to win a championship? They're winning so many games without Nikola Jokic. We'll talk about that and much more tomorrow on the Triple Threat Show. You can find us everywhere that you get your podcast. That's Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and more. You can find us on YouTube at Triple Threat Show, on Twitch at 3 Threat Show, Instagram at 3 Threat Show _, and on TikTok at _, Triple Threat Show. Go give us a follow. Go give us a subscribe. Go ahead and check us out everywhere. I have been your host, Jeremy Lapidus, joined as always by my friend and co-host, Mayrob Fatemi. We'll see you tomorrow.